in private in violation of all of the sunshine laws, and they got caught in the act. And when this was brought to light, then you started seeing a lot of discussion about why they were doing it and what it was all about. And what it was about was passing out political plums all around the state of Missouri to help Governor Blunt get reelected. And it was putting the interest of that governor above the well-being of Missouri students.
Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you. I think we all need to understand what MOHELA is and what MOHELA isn't. MOHELA is a loan consolidator. MOHELA, basically, it's a middleman to encourage private entities to give loans to students, which they then sell to MOHELA as a consolidator, which bundles them and then sells them on the auction market. And we are not the only state with this. Every single state has one. I went to law school in Vermont, and I used VSAC, which is the Vermont Student Loan Assistance Corporation, for the exact same thing. They exist in all states. Every one of them is in the same boat that MOHELA is in right now. Because here's the thing. The assets that MOHELA owns are those loans. So when MOHELA can't bundle up those loans and sell them on the auction market, because the auction market dried up with the subprime mortgage crisis, its loans that it holds are basically worthless because it cannot sell them. And we actually are fortunate that MOHELA did sell the loans that it sold before the meltdown, because if it didn't, it would be sitting on that many more worthless loans right now. The other thing is the $85 million that Senator Graham lost, that was the #1 project from the MOHELA sale. The very first project. That $85 million was coming here first off. MOHELA did pay the state $250 million right after the sale. So, had the filibuster not occurred from Senator Graham, had we not lost the money, the issue of funding would be somebody else's issue right now. It would not be the University of Missouri's. Unfortunately, it didn't go through that year. The Ellis Michelle money was on top of that. We did get that this past year, but because it got bumped down the list, that's where we are now. Again, the issue of the student curator bill, I'm hearing Senator Graham saying that he thinks there should be a student curator, which I, again, do not oppose. I think it needs to be done correctly. But to allow a student a voice on the Board of Curators to control tuition. But one of the issues he filibustered on the MOHELA sale, and the $85 million was, there was potentially a tuition cap, which he opposed. So again, the MOHELA sale, had he been a negotiator, somebody who cooperates, brings people together, which he cannot even do in his own party. And please look into statements made by Maida Coleman in the last 2 weeks, the outgoing Senate Minority Leader, who questioned his ability to ever be a leader in the party because he cannot bring people together. We have got to have somebody from this district that can bring people together. Is there enough blame to go around on the Republican and Democrat side? Yes. Do we need moderation? Absolutely. Do we need people who have negotiated cases and work together to bring people together to see common ground? Yes. And that's what I can do. It's what we don't have in the Senate now.
I believe you had a... oh, sorry, Senator Graham.
With all due respect, Senator Coleman didn't say that, and she and I have talked about that. You weren't in the arena and you don't know what's going on. First of all, I mean, if you want to go back to when the original money was provided, or about to be provided for the Health Sciences Center, Gene Carnahan had that as an earmark that was announced on this campus. When Jim Talent won that election, he let that earmark go. So we can go back and we can rehash all that. But specifically on Senate Bill 389, both Ed Robbie and I voted against it because there were problems with that bill, one of which is the tuition cap. Number one, it's unconstitutional. If you take a look at the powers of the University of Missouri, in the Constitution, which if you're elected, you swear to uphold, you have to make sure that what you pass is constitutional. And that is not constitutional. Limit the powers of the University of Missouri. But they were scared to death of Matt One. And they didn't want to fight it because they were scared of him. And I don't blame them. But that was an unconstitutional piece of that bill that was opposed by ASUF. It was opposed by the university. It was opposed by the flagship council. It was universally opposed in this community. And the people in this community asked me to oppose that, and I did. And it was the right thing to do. You know, sometimes down there, people want to do things that are politically expedient. It's easy to stand up and defend academic freedom when it's convenient. It's difficult when it's hard. And it was a hard time When you say that you can't have money for a cancer hospital unless you agree to stop certain research that may find a cure to cancer, that's a tough place to be in. And you can't always just negotiate your way out when you have people who are so set, like Missouri Right to Life and the Catholic Conference, on getting test votes in their caucus, that they force these things. It's a mess. And we all knew it was going to be a mess. We all dealt with it the best that we could. Ed and I voted the same way, maybe for different reasons, but I think he and I both opposed an unconstitutional tuition cap that was placed in that bill that can cause harm to this university, its ability to issue bonds, its ability to manage itself as we move forward.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I want a little piece of this. I have about heard all I need to hear about Chuck's, quote, inappropriate behavior with the MOHELA bill. First of all, the MOHELA bill was never necessary at all. First two iterations of it were patently illegal. Patently illegal. The governor could not do what he wanted to do without the legislator acting. He attempted to do it twice. Both times he rightly got slapped back. I applaud both Democrats and Republicans in the legislature for telling him to get off it. What they should have done with for the university funding is go to a state building fund, a general obligation bond. We did it in my day. We did it successfully. It is cheaper, it is cleaner, and it is upfront. However, the real big issue here is, what did Chuck do? And what Chuck did was a profile in courage. What he did is stand alone on the floor of the Senate when politicians attempted to tell the University of Missouri researchers they could not do research on stem cells. First of all, as Chuck said, it is constitutionally prohibited for them to do that. And second of all, it evidences profound contempt for the role of professors at a research institution. He stood there alone and fought for academic freedom and the right to do research at a level 1 research institution. That Chuck did that cost the University of Missouri one dime. What happened was the governor and the Republican Party took the money out to punish him for having stood for academic freedom. Chuck did not do it. They did it and said it is Chuck's fault. If, in fact, you believe that a person who fights the way he did for academic freedom caused the loss of that money, then I say I am proud to know him. And I am proud that he served the highest principles of a level 1 research institution.
Thank you.